And the dumbest bill in America is taxing violent video games.
Oh, boy.
Yes, because in order to get people to stop playing video games, you must tax them. What? So taxing violent video games at 10%. You add a 10% tax onto them because that's what this particular Republican, Christopher B. Quinn of Delaware County in Pennsylvania, he put in a bill, House Bill 109 in Pennsylvania, and the whole purpose of it is to say, well, kids are watching these violent video games, and the way I'm going to curb their use is by taxing them. Does that work? Garrick?
No. I could get into a lot of the logistical reasons as to why taxing video games at 10% is a useless idea, especially given what games are popular. Most of them, the Fortnite that your kid's playing.
Explain what Fortnite is and if it's violent.
It is an arena-style shooter. And so basically, it's 100 people in a lobby, and they all kill each other until one person's standing.
And you're one of those people, right?
And you're one of those people. And there's guns.
Can't you play with teams?
You can play with teams. You can play by yourself. Whatever. The game is free. You can download the game for free.
It's free.
The newest game that all the kids are playing.
So 10% won't matter.
10% won't matter. A lot of games these days are done through beta access where they let you come and play for free, and then you get to continue to play, and they get their money through microtransactions. And what is microtransactions?
Yeah, what is that?
It is in-game store stuff. Like you buy a battle pass that gives you cool rewards like, skins for your character or camouflages for your guns. It is...
And then you wear that stuff and utilize that stuff in the game.
And you pay like $5.
No
and
way.
You pay $10 for the season or whatever. This is how they make the money.
I just learned something.
Because it is a much more efficient way than having to sell copies or rely on subscriptions. If you create something that is cool and aesthetically pleasing, kids are more likely to buy them. Kids are more likely to gamble on them, which is a whole other conversation that I will spare all of you. An interesting thing to
That's a different regulatory issue there.
Different issue.
Than just a straight tax.
But the 10% thing, I am assuming it is because he thinks that there is some correlation between violent video games and child behavior.
That's exactly what he thinks.
And particularly, I'm assuming the school shooting issue. And I also think that is incredibly naive because are you going to start taxing every movie I ever watch ever at 10% too, if we want to start following that logic to its conclusion?
And would a tax really curb its use? Because if I've learned anything as a boomer watching your generation grow up,
pay money for anything.
You guys, when it comes to video games, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want it, you're going to figure out a way of buying it.
Yeah.
But now you just educated me. You don't even have to pay for it.
Most games nowadays, the big popular ones that everybody plays. So Call of Duty, right, guys? Call of Duty. You probably have heard of that when your kids are probably
Explain what that is.
Call of Duty is the biggest first-person shooter franchise in the world. Millions and millions of players. Their newest game, you could buy the title, which comes with like the multiplayer, the 6v6, whatever, all that stuff. But they have their version of Fortnite, which is the largest single downloaded game in world history. It was free to download.
No way.
You could download it for free, play it for free, continue to play it for free. It's called Warzone. Everybody plays it.
And you can pick up teams, right? You can these are people that you're playing with online and you're talking to them. If you want to. You don't necessarily have to, but you can. You're playing with them online, and they could be living who knows where.
Yeah, I played a game a couple years ago. I played regularly with these people from New Zealand. You meet people from all over. You get stuck in lobbies with interesting characters. It's one of the underrated parts of video games. Is
I bet you most parents don't even have a clue who their kids are talking to. Yeah,
none.
And that's of a concern there. But it does go back to personal responsibility.
Yeah.
If you're a parent. Right? You have personal responsibility to make sure that your minor is playing games or doing things that are appropriate.
Do I think little Timmy, 5 years old, should be playing these games? Probably not, no.
But a 10% tax isn't the issue because Timmy doesn't need to, he can play it for free.
Because Timmy can fire up his Xbox, find his way to the marketplace, and download it for free.
Exactly. That's why it makes this bill so stupid.
Yeah.
So get this, China introduced a new games approval process under the State Administration and Press and Publication Department, which is SAP. I know, typical China. And with that in mind, SAP is introducing a number of changes at the end of the month. It's establishing an online game ethics committee to review content, and the committee is comprised of game experts and scholars who evaluate whether certain games abide by social values that China holds dear.
Yes.
So I find this interesting, right? Because the dumbest bill in America is this bill introduced by Christopher B. Quinn of Delaware County in Pennsylvania. It's House Bill 109. And of course, in America, you have people saying, well, let's tax it, which clearly isn't going to work, especially the way you explained it. Now I know even more it's not going to work. In China, their concern isn't whether it's violent. Their concern is whether it offends the Chinese Communist government.
And you'd be surprised how much influence China already has in the world of video games with this cultural conditioning of, and social conditioning for games. So I'm going to out myself as a bit of a nerd here, and I think I've talked about this. I do play a lot of video games.
My son does too, by the way.
I played,
loves them.
I played, a game that's been memed a lot. World of Warcraft back in the day, and they're owned by a company called Blizzard Activision, who is partially owned by a company based out of China called Tencent. And Tencent is also in the news currently for some other things. I don't remember what specifically, but it had to do along the lines of viewing them. Basically, they're an arm of the CCP. There are conditions that are placed on games that are predominantly in America, like World of Warcraft, that are a direct result of how China influences itself with its, with its money. So, things like skeletons, right? In China, there's, when we're talking about things that are their social values, it's not always as explicit as, praising communism and things like that. It is, a lot of it's very subtle. It is, graphics and like what you can see and what they want you to see versus not see. And so, they'll subtly change games in ways to make them more favorable to cultural.
Absolutely.
But it's that little thing, that small first instance that breeds these larger changes.
And that is what perhaps Christopher B. Quinn of Delaware County, Pennsylvania should focus on, right? Maybe focus on the creep of Chinese video games that might have undue influence on our children and maybe trying to, propagate communist.
Because it starts small like that, and I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, and I'll say it again, when that issues in Hong Kong were going on, and a lot of video gamers in the professional space for certain games are from, Pan-Asian countries. One of them said free Hong Kong, and because of the Chinese Communist Party said, I can't have this happen in a game that we pay for, they had him suspended for a year, they had his winnings revoked, and it was a huge, huge issue in the gaming space. And this was an American company that enforced that ban.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's the final word, and that is the dumbest bill in America, which is taxing violent video games. It wouldn't even work anyway, as we just learned. So thank you for joining Mark and the Millennials. This is Mark Fisher. Thank you to our millennial, Garrick Ross, and of course, our producer, Adam Couture, and our assistant producer, Christopher Hopkins. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. See you next time.